It started like every other absurd encounter with Gloria Patterson, the ever-so-power-hungry president of the Silver Oaks HOA. I had just pulled into my driveway after a long day of errands when I spotted her standing stiffly at the edge of my property, arms crossed, that signature smug expression plastered on her face. "Ah, here we go again," I muttered under my breath, grabbing my bags. "That car is in violation of HOA regulations," she snapped before I could even close the car door. I sighed. "What now, Gloria?" She strutted forward, pointing an accusatory finger at my vehicle. "We have very clear rules about what kind of vehicles can be parked in driveways overnight. That thing is completely unacceptable. It's a commercial vehicle, and our bylaws explicitly prohibit those." I frowned, glancing at the car. It was a plain black sedan, nothing flashy, no logos, no signs. It didn't scream commercial in any way. "Gloria, that's not a commercial vehicle," I said, already feeling the familiar frustration creeping in. She scoffed, pulling a laminated booklet from her oversized tote. Because, of course, Gloria carried around a printed copy of the HOA rules like it was the law of the land. Vehicles used for business purposes are subject to immediate removal. I've already reported it to the board. If it's not moved within the next hour, I'll be calling a tow truck. I fought the urge to laugh. You can't just tow someone's car because you think it's a commercial vehicle. Gloria's eyes gleamed with petty delight. "Oh, but I can. In fact, I already did. The tow truck is on its way." My blood boiled. Gloria had pulled plenty of ridiculous stunts before, but this was next-level insanity. "You didn't even give me time to move it," I argued. "You can't just—" "The rules are the rules," she interrupted, folding her arms. "If you read the guidelines, you'd know this isn't up for debate. The board agrees with me. That car is violating regulations, and it's getting towed." I shook my head. "Gloria, you really don't know when to quit." She smirked. "You'll learn to respect the HOA eventually." Just then, the unmistakable rumble of a tow truck pulling onto the street made my stomach drop. Gloria's grin widened. "Ah, perfect timing." I turned toward the truck, watching as the driver hopped out, clipboard in hand. "Which vehicle?" he asked. Gloria pointed dramatically at the black sedan. "That one. Remove it immediately." The driver approached me first. "You the owner?" I shook my head. "No, it belongs to my husband." Gloria snorted. "Oh, and where is he?" "Because unless he moves it now, it's gone." I smirked. "He's at work. But I wouldn't touch that car if I were you." Gloria let out a condescending laugh. "Oh, really? And why is that?" I leaned in slightly. "Because my husband, Alex Carter, is an investigator with the Houston Police Department, and that is an unmarked police vehicle." Gloria's smug expression froze. For the first time in all my years dealing with her, she looked genuinely speechless. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, as if trying to find a way to spin this in her favor. But there was no way out of this one. The tow truck driver arched an eyebrow. "Wait, did you just say this is a police vehicle?" I nodded, keeping my gaze fixed on Gloria. "Yep, an unmarked government-issued vehicle." Gloria's face drained of all color. She blinked rapidly, her fingers twitching around her laminated rule book, as if she could somehow flip to a page that would save her. That doesn't make any sense," she finally spat out. "There are no police in this neighborhood. That car shouldn't be here." I laughed, shaking my head. "Gloria, you don't get to decide where undercover officers live. And for the record, Alex has lived here longer than you." Gloria let out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know." The tow truck driver didn't seem convinced. He crossed his arms. "So let me get this straight. You called me out here to tow a legally parked police vehicle?" Gloria's mouth flapped uselessly. I sighed. "Yeah, looks like you just tried to have an active duty officer's car illegally impounded." Before Gloria could stammer out another excuse, a new voice entered the conversation. "Is there a problem here?" Lisa Howard, my next-door neighbor, had wandered over, arms folded across her chest. Unlike Gloria, Lisa had long since had enough of the HOA's antics. The tow truck driver exhaled, shaking his head. "I'm not touching that car. I'm not about to tow a police vehicle." Lisa raised an eyebrow at Gloria. "So, Gloria, how exactly do you plan to justify this one to the board?" Gloria's face twisted in frustration. "This is all a misunderstanding. I was just enforcing the rules." Lisa chuckled. "You mean the same rules you've been using to bully homeowners for years?" I think it's time someone takes a closer look at how you run this HOA. Gloria's eyes darted between us, then to the tow truck driver. Fine, she huffed. Call off the tow. But this isn't over. Oh, I think it is, Lisa countered. In fact, I'd say your days of running this HOA like your own personal kingdom might just be numbered. As Gloria stormed off, I exchanged a knowing glance with Lisa. Because this time, Gloria hadn't just overstepped. She had made a mistake big enough to finally bring her down. Gloria Patterson turned ghostly pale, her usual air of superiority crumbling before my eyes. As if the universe had decided to drive the point home, another vehicle pulled into the driveway. My wife, Alex Carter, had arrived. She stepped out of her car, still wearing her sunglasses, her composed expression shifting into confusion as she took in the scene. The tow truck idling at the curb, Gloria looking like she'd seen a ghost, and me, thoroughly enjoying the moment. What's going on? Alex asked, walking up beside me. Before I could answer, Gloria, now in full-blown panic mode, threw up her hands. Officer, I swear, this was a mistake. I was just following HOA protocol. Alex frowned. HOA protocol. She glanced at me. I grinned. Gloria here called a tow truck for your car. Apparently, she thought it was a commercial vehicle. Gloria let out a wheezing laugh, desperate to backpedal. I didn't know it was yours. I was just doing my job as HOA president. Alex arched an eyebrow. So your job is to illegally tow private property? Her tone was calm, but I could tell she was pissed. Gloria stammered. It was just a misunderstanding. The tow truck driver shook his head. Lady, you just wasted my time. You owe me a call-out fee. Gloria's eyes bulged. What? I'm not paying for this. He shrugged. Not my problem. You requested a tow. Now you gotta pay. Gloria looked like she was about to faint. I leaned against the car, savoring every second. So, Gloria, how's that HOA authority working out for you now? Her face twisted, her lips parting in silent outrage. She glanced from the tow truck driver to Alex, then back to me, searching for a way out. But there wasn't one. I shouldn't have to pay for this, she shrieked, gripping her clipboard like a legal shield. This isn't fair. I was enforcing HOA policy. Alex crossed her arms, her badge now visible on her hip. Gloria, let me explain something to you. Her voice had the measured authority she used when dealing with uncooperative suspects. What you did wasn't just petty, it was illegal. You tried to have a police vehicle towed without cause. That could easily be seen as obstruction. Gloria's mouth flapped open. Obstruction? I didn't. The tow truck driver sighed, flipping through his paperwork. Look, lady, I don't care what kind of neighborhood drama you got going on. Bottom line is, you owe me a call-out fee. I don't leave without getting paid. Gloria's face flushed red. I am not paying for this. I demand the HOA cover the cost. The driver scoffed. Yeah, good luck with that. By now, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, drawn by the commotion. They whispered amongst themselves, their expressions ranging from amused to outright delighted. Looks like Gloria's finally getting a taste of her own medicine, Lisa Howard murmured, smirking. About time, another neighbor muttered. She fined me $200 last month for leaving my garbage can out for an extra 30 minutes. Maybe now she'll learn what it's like to be on the other end of it. Realizing she was losing control, Gloria made one last desperate move. This is harassment, she screeched, turning toward the crowd. I have done nothing wrong. I was simply enforcing neighborhood regulations, and now I'm being publicly humiliated. The neighbors weren't buying it. In fact, a few of them started laughing. You mean like how you publicly humiliated the Johnsons by sending them violation letters for their overgrown lawn while their son was in the hospital? Someone called out. Or when you tried to evict the Martins for putting up string lights last Christmas? Another added. Gloria's face contorted with fury. That was different. I was protecting our property values. Alex sighed. Gloria, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Then, things went from bad to worse for her. A Houston PD patrol officer happened to be driving by when he spotted the commotion. He pulled up, stepping out of his cruiser with a look of mild exasperation. What's going on here? He asked, scanning the scene. The tow truck driver gestured at Gloria. This lady called me to tow a police vehicle. Then she refused to pay the call-out fee. Gloria immediately went into damage control mode. Officer, this is just a misunderstanding. I was simply enforcing our... Save it. The officer interrupted. already pulling out his notepad. You tried to tow an unmarked government vehicle. That's a serious offense. Gloria's face drained of all color. But I didn't. You did, Alex interjected. And it doesn't stop there. We've been investigating HOA Silver Oaks for months. And funny thing, your name keeps coming up in financial records that don't quite add up. Care to explain the missing $250,000 from the HOA fund? The crowd collectively gasped. Gloria's clipboard slipped from her hands, clattering onto the pavement. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. Alex smirked. I think you do. And I think it's about time we had a more formal conversation downtown. The patrol officer nodded. Mrs. Patterson, we're going to need you to come with us. Gloria let out a strangled noise somewhere between a whimper and a gasp. She turned to Richard, her husband, who had just stepped onto the porch. Richard, say something. He sighed, shaking his head. Gloria, I told you to stop messing with people. Now look where it got you. As the officer led her toward the cruiser, the neighbors began to applaud. Lisa Howard grinned at me. Guess we won't be getting any more ridiculous violation letters, huh? I chuckled. Looks like Silver Oaks just got a whole lot quieter. And just like that, the reign of HOA terror was over. The officer held up a hand, cutting her off. Wait, you called a tow truck for an unmarked police vehicle? Gloria Patterson's eye twitched. I didn't know it was police issued. How was I supposed to know? It didn't have any markings. The officer pinched the bridge of his nose. You didn't think to check before ordering a tow? Gloria let out a frustrated squeak. The rules clearly state. The officer turned to Alex Carter. Sir, is this your vehicle? Alex's wife, Lisa Howard, stepped forward instead. Yes, and I'd like to formally report an attempted unlawful towing and harassment. Gloria visibly paled. No. There's no need for that. We can handle this internally. The officer pulled out his notepad. Sorry, but I've got to file a report. Interfering with police property is a serious offense. Gloria looked like she was going to be sick as the officer began writing up the incident. Meanwhile, the tow truck driver had lost patience. All right, that's it, he grumbled. I'm done waiting. Either you pay my fee, or I'm filing in small claims. What's it gonna be? Gloria's expression twisted in rage. She looked at the crowd, the officer, Lisa, and finally Alex. He raised an eyebrow. For a moment, it seemed like she might explode on the spot. Then, with a growl of pure humiliation, she dug into her purse, yanked out her credit card, and practically threw it at the tow truck driver. He swiped it and smirked. Thanks for your business. Gloria snatched her card back, looking like she was about to burst into flames. By the time the officer finished taking statements, she had lost every last shred of dignity. She stormed away from Alex's driveway, avoiding eye contact with anyone. But as she reached the sidewalk, she turned back, her face twisted in venomous hatred. You'll regret this, she hissed. Alex grinned. Oh, Gloria, I already don't. The crowd burst into laughter as Gloria stomped away toward her house, defeated. For the first time in years, it felt like the community had finally won. But Gloria wasn't done, not yet. That night, Alex noticed her pacing on her porch, talking frantically on her phone. He had a gut feeling she wasn't just venting. She was plotting something. Lisa noticed too. We should keep an eye on her, she said, her tone serious. Sure enough, the very next morning, a new HOA letter arrived in Alex's mailbox, a notice of formal violation. He opened it and smirked. Gloria was trying to retaliate. But what she didn't know, he had one last surprise for her. The moment Alex saw Gloria's latest desperate attempt at retaliation, he couldn't help but laugh. The letter was a formal violation notice, citing an unauthorized commercial vehicle parked in his driveway. The same vehicle she had already been publicly humiliated for trying to tow. She was doubling down. Wow, he muttered, holding up the letter for Lisa to see. She really doesn't know when to quit. Lisa scanned the notice and let out a dry chuckle. She must really enjoy losing. Within days, Gloria escalated her petty campaign. First, she cited Alex for his car. Then, suddenly, his grass was 0.5 inches too tall. A day later, he was cited for an unauthorized porch decoration, which was literally just a wreath Lisa had hung for the fall season. It was comical. She's throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks, Lisa said, watching as Alex added the newest violation letter to the growing pile of nonsense on their kitchen counter. She's desperate, Alex agreed. But she just made a huge mistake. What Gloria had apparently forgotten was that she had already been warned by the city. Her actions were being watched, and she had just handed Alex the last piece of evidence he needed to bury her. Alex gathered every single violation letter she had sent him, along with copies of his legal parking exemption from the city and a report detailing her previous attempt to tow an unmarked police vehicle. Then, he sent the whole package directly to the city's legal department. Within 24 hours, he got a response. And the news was even better than he expected. 2 days later, Gloria's reign officially ended. The city launched a full investigation into the HOA's financials. What they found was staggering. Gloria had embezzled over $250,000 from the HOA funds over 6 years. As more evidence surfaced, it became clear she had used her position to intimidate homeowners while covering up her corruption. When investigators arrived at her home with a warrant, she tried one last desperate attempt to play the victim, ranting about community standards and ungrateful homeowners. But it was over. The city froze the HOA's accounts, and Gloria was arrested for financial fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. Lisa watched as the officers led Gloria away in handcuffs. Well, that took long enough. Alex chuckled. Better late than never. With Gloria gone, the HOA board was dissolved, and a vote was held to remove the HOA entirely. The neighborhood finally celebrated their long-overdue freedom. The oppressive fines, the absurd restrictions, it was all gone. And as Alex watched neighbors gathering outside, smiling and relieved, he realized something. For the first time in years, Silver Oaks felt like a real community again. City officials arrived in person to deliver the news to Gloria Patterson. The HOA board of Silver Oaks had violated multiple housing regulations and engaged in abusive practices. Not only had her harassment of homeowners been illegal, but her attempt to enforce non-existent rules had triggered a full-scale investigation. The result? Gloria was stripped of her position immediately. She was permanently banned from holding any leadership role in any HOA again. And the final nail in the coffin, the city hit her with massive fines for abuse of power, fraudulent reporting, and targeted harassment. As the news spread, the entire neighborhood erupted in celebration. Neighbors cheered, some popped open champagne bottles, and someone even blasted music from their front yard, a direct jab at the noise complaints Gloria had spent years enforcing. But she was nowhere to be seen. The humiliation was bad enough, but worse news was coming. Just days after her removal, Gloria received an even bigger blow. The city wasn't just fining her, they were filing criminal charges. Apparently, her fraudulent violations and misuse of HOA funds ran far deeper than anyone had initially realized. A full forensic audit revealed she had embezzled over $250,000, funneling HOA fees into a personal slush fund over the past 6 years. It wasn't long before officers arrived at her front door. I happened to be outside when they knocked. Gloria answered, still wearing her signature pastel cardigan and pearl necklace, but her face was pale. Her hands trembled as they handed her a set of court documents. This can't be happening, she stammered. The officer remained firm. Mrs. Patterson, you're being investigated for fraud, embezzlement, and financial misconduct. You have the right to seek legal counsel. Gloria staggered backward before slamming the door shut. I couldn't stop grinning. Weeks later, she was officially charged. Court documents outlined how she had been falsifying maintenance reports, billing fake expenses, and pocketing funds. Her assets were frozen, her bank accounts seized, and she was barred from owning property in any HOA-governed community again. At the next community meeting, the neighborhood delivered the final blow. We took a unanimous vote to disband the Silver Oaks HOA entirely. Gloria's reign of terror was erased from existence in a single evening. The day of her sentencing felt like the ultimate victory. Gloria stood before the judge, her carefully curated image in complete ruin. The judge handed down a 3-year prison sentence for fraud and abuse of power. Along with her prison time, she was permanently prohibited from holding any administrative position in any neighborhood association. When they led her out of the courtroom in handcuffs, she refused to make eye contact with anyone. I sat in the back of the courtroom, arms crossed, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Gloria had ruled this neighborhood with an iron fist for years, but in the end, she lost everything. A month later, Silver Oaks was unrecognizable in the best way possible. Without Gloria's oppressive rules, people actually enjoyed living here again. Front yards were decorated however residents pleased. Kids rode their bikes freely without fear of ridiculous noise violations. Petty fines vanished overnight. One evening, as I sat on my porch with my wife, watching the sunset, I finally felt something I hadn't in years: peace. Gloria was gone. The HOA was dissolved, and our neighborhood was finally, truly free. The lesson of power and greed. The story of Gloria Patterson is a clear example of how power, when abused, can lead to a bitter downfall. She believed she could control everything, ordering cars to be towed and even embezzling HOA funds without consequences. But the truth is, no wrongdoing stays hidden forever. Her greed and arrogance became her undoing. The lesson here is simple: never let power cloud your integrity. If you hold a position of influence, use it to serve others, not to dominate them. Every action has consequences, and justice, though sometimes slow, will always catch up. For older generations, we understand more than anyone the value of honesty, kindness, and mutual respect. This story is a reminder that true honor is built on integrity, not control. As we go through life, we should strive to be remembered for our fairness and compassion, not for the harm we caused. The legacy we leave behind is not in the power we held, but in the lives we touched with decency and respect. In the end, character is the most valuable asset we have.